My Lords, while the tributes are flowing, I think that I'd like to just pay tribute to the Noble Lord of the Army, who gave one of the best speeches when this was passed, in the first time this amendment was passed, and also to the Noble Baroness Lady Deach. It's truly important to have this discussion and this debate out, and not to have kind of just said, oh, it doesn't matter. So I just wanted to note that. I also don't doubt the sincerity whatsoever of the Noble Lord Collins of Highbury and the Noble Lord Khan of Burnley, who in both instances have been absolutely reassuring. But the problem I've got is that I'm sort of not reassured by reassurances, because I can't still understand why it's only reassurances and not firmly fixed. I know we can't. I'm not attempting to do much about it, but it's not reassuring that this can't be written down so that we all know it is not going to be sold out. And no disrespect, but there's a lot of sellouts that happen in politics, even if not by, and I don't doubt the integrity of the noble lords I've mentioned. I just wanted to quickly just note why this matters at the moment. I think actually the noble Lord Pickles just made the point when he said about the fight, because I'd written down the context of this is a fight. And I do a range of education work, not in relation to this issue, but when you actually go to universities and to schools, I get into arguments, obviously enough, about all sorts of things. And in a debate about whether there is a genocide in Gaza, in an argument about that, I was told, because I said there wasn't, and tried to explain it rationally and of course, I was accused of being a Holocaust denier. When I then tried to untangle why that was not the case, and why that was, why would you use that term? One of the students said, the problem is that Jews jealously guard the Holocaust. It's part of their colonial entitlement attitude. And that was kind of quite a normal thing to say. I was shocked, nobody else was. And it's also the case that if you actually look at what, this is a learning centre, when you look at the revelations that have come forth in relation to the teacher, the MP from Labour Friends of Israel, who was actually stopped going into teaching a school, the subsequent revelations exposed by Nicole Lambert, as it happens, about the goings-on in the National Education Union, a teaching union, which is almost institutionally hostile to Israel, has very strong and open anti-Semitic elements to it. And so it is the case that people being worried about the show being relativised or diffused are not just being paranoid, this is happening. It's also just so that I'm not just looking at the kind of progressive side. If you've been following what's going on in the United States on the fringes of the far right, with the likes of Nick Fuentes and the Groypers, I'm a bit awkward having said that it goes in Hansard now, but anyway, there we go. But the noble Lord Finkelstein actually became embroiled in this only too recently, when he was the target of some of these people. Their attitude is explicit Holocaust denial, completely dismissive of what happened during that period. Many young people follow them, and many young people in this country know all about that debate, and so on and so forth. In other words, one thing that has happened is that Holocaust denial and Holocaust relativism have become normalised in society, particularly amongst young people. And in that sense, I feel as though there's an obligation to use the Learning Centre to take that on and not to pretend it's not happening. So I would have preferred to have not just had to put up with an assurance, but a guarantee. But regardless, what we have to do is to ourselves ensure that we use that Learning Centre to counter what is actually a battle of ideas in relation to this. And it's not one we're necessarily winning, if I'm honest.